First of all, would you tell the folks your name?
My name is Raymond Kurzweil, and I'm from Queens, New York.
Queens, New York. And before we show the audience what his secret is, we have just a few seconds for Raymond to play this piece of music. Raymond, the piano's all yours.
Thank you.
Raymond's secret concerns something that he did, and we'll start the game this time with Bess Myers.
Was that thing written by a computer?
Wow. Yes.
Well, I built a computer, and by feeding in certain relationships and music, I was able to write music with it.
Raymond, how old are you?
I'm 17.
Do your parents know what you've been up to?
My father is a musician, and he doesn't like the competition.
Raymond, I'm astounded at anyone who can do anything at all of this sort, and I predict a great future for you. We were very pleased to have you with us tonight. Congratulations.
Ray Kurzweil is here. He has been called the rightful heir to Thomas Edison. His new book is entitled The Singularity is Near, When Humans Transcend Biology.
I read your book, some of the most frightening and yet hopeful stuff I've ever read.
Ray Kurzweil is a pioneer in the field of artificial intelligence.
He's an award-winning scientist and engineer, a millionaire several times over because of his invention.
He's the holder of 24 patents.
Ray Kurzweil
Was chief inventor of the flatbed scanner.
A reading machine for the blind, Kurzweil keyboard synthesizer.
This guy is freaky. Bill Gates has called him the best in the world at predicting the future.
When Ray Kurzweil makes a prediction, lots of folks listen.
He predicted the collapse of the Soviet Union, described the rise of the internet, and foretold the year a computer would beat a chess champion.
If you go back 500 years, not much happened in a century. Now a lot happens in 6 months. Technology feeds on itself and it gets faster and faster. In about 40 years, the pace of change is going to be so astonishingly quick that you won't be able to follow it unless you enhance your own intelligence by merging with the intelligent technology we're creating. So that's such a profound transformation that we've borrowed this metaphor from physics and call that a singularity.
Guys, ladies and gentlemen, Ray Kurzweil. Ray, on behalf of NAMM, for your lifetime as a NAMM member and industry pioneer, we'd like to honor you with our Lifetime Achievement Award. This has only been given out 3 times in the last 22 years. Ladies and gentlemen, 2012 Lifetime Achievement Award, Ray Kurzweil. I think Henry Steinway got the last time. Ray, now we're going to talk a little bit. Oh, here we go. Now, we saw a little bit of a musical background there. I mean...
That's beautiful.
So, what were your musical influences?
Well, let's see. We could go back to the 1930s. My father was a popular musician in Vienna, one of the music capitals of the world. His favorite composer was Brahms, so in 1937 he gave a Brahms concert. A wealthy society woman from Philadelphia came to Vienna to see this concert because she was also a Brahms fan. And she was so taken with the concert, she went up to my father afterward and said, "That was the most beautiful concert of Brahms I've ever heard. And if you ever need anything, here's my card." There was no email address, but contact me. So I said, thanks. He kept the card. March of '38, Hitler marched into Vienna, and he figured he better leave. Mm-hmm. But he actually decided he would finish up his doctorate in music from the University of Vienna. I said to him, it's a good thing you did that because you weren't coming back anytime soon. In the summer of '38, with her help, he left Vienna. You needed a sponsor, and she sponsored him to come to America. And then he established himself here. He was conductor of the Bell Symphony, which was a symphony orchestra, the Bell telephone system, appeared on TV a lot, and started teaching me music at age 6, gave me piano lessons. And we had a lot of conversations about the relationship of music to computers, which had become an interest of mine. You saw the music composition project I did with help from my father. And we also talked about the structure of musical sound, that was mathematical and the computers could figure out the relationships of fundamental frequencies to overtones. We actually talked about how the overtones in a piano are enharmonic, they're not perfect multiples of the fundamental frequency. He died in 1970. Then I got involved with reading machines for the blind. I think you saw a brief reference to that. We first introduced that January 13th, 1976. I remember that date because Walter Cronkite used it for his signature sign-off. He actually had the reading machine read that. I was invited on the Today Show. We were a little hesitant because we only had one model, which didn't always work. And I said, can we tape this? And no, it's a live show. A few hours before the show, it actually stopped working. And so we took it apart, and the parts were scattered all over the floor. And Frank Field, who was going to interview me, came by. We were about an hour to showtime. He said, is there a problem, gentlemen? And no, we're just making some last-minute adjustments. Put it back together, and it still didn't work. So my chief engineer used a time-honored method, which I'm sure you've had experience with, of getting delicate electronic equipment to work. He picked it up and slammed it on the table. And then it worked fine. So demonstrated on national television. Stevie Wonder happened to catch that. And he called up and said, hey, this is Stevie Wonder. I heard about your reading machine. The receptionist didn't believe it was really him. She's wondering who would, pull this kind of stunt. But in fact, he showed up. We were just finishing up one model, and we taught him how to use it, and he went off in a taxi with the first Kurzweil reading machine, 1976. That was the start of that relationship. I discovered that in addition to him being a brilliant musician and a very nice guy, he's also very knowledgeable about technology, both for disabilities and music, and we had many conversations over the years. 1982, he was showing me his new recording studio, Wonderland, he called it, and was lamenting the state of affairs that there were these two disconnected worlds of musical instruments, beautiful acoustic instruments with very rich, complex sounds, but you couldn't play them. I mean, you had to be a virtuoso just to play more than one instrument, and you couldn't play them polyphonically. And even if you could play them all, you can't play them at the same time. And then there was this electronic world where you could do all those things. You could play one piece of music, and you could play it back from memory and lay another track over it. But the sounds you had to work with in that electronic world were very synthetic. You pressed piano, it sounded like an organ. You pressed violin, it sounded like an organ. So I said, wouldn't it be great if we could actually combine these two worlds of music? And I thought about it, and the kinds of techniques I'd used before in pattern recognition and signal processing I felt would work. Asked him if he would work with us, and we started Kurzweil Music in '82. Came to my first NAMM show in June '83, and we demonstrated a prototype of the Kurzweil 250. So.
So many of our members here are involved in technology. Obviously, the music base is what brings us here. But you're in a place now in making some fantastic predictions about technology. And I wonder if we could just spend a few minutes on, and it's not related directly to their retail business or their manufacturing, but as citizens of this world, where is this going? Love to have spend a few minutes with that.
Well, these trends affect everything. That's the theme of Transcendent Man. You saw a few clips from that movie. Information technology progresses exponentially. Basically, it's doubling in power every year. And that multiplies. Doubling every year is multiplying by 1,000 in 10 years. We actually multiply it by 1 billion in 25 years. So this is actually 1 billion times more powerful per dollar than the computer I used when I was a student at MIT. It's 100,000 times smaller. We'll do it again in 25 years. This will be the size of a blood cell. It'll again be 1 billion times more powerful per dollar. And it's not just computers. It affects our biology, which has just become an information technology. Certainly music has been transformed. And people are always hesitant about this. We had a lot of negative reaction to our early Kurzweil instruments, saying, well, I get a job playing a horn in a TV commercial, and now they're using synthesizers. But it turned out that actually was good for music, because now, instead of using public domain recordings for movies, say independent documentaries, they'll hire a musician with a synthesizer to play a track. And music is more exciting because it's a richer palette of sounds. My father could not hear his compositions without raising money and hiring an orchestra and running off. I would stay up late with him running off scores on a mimeograph machine. You know, now a kid in her dorm room can hear an orchestra, a jazz rock band, in her dorm room on her MIDI keyboard and synthesizer.
Yeah.
So, but the technology is going to keep changing at this pace, and people are now feeling it. It's now entering their lives. They're talking things over with their phone, and people complain, well, Siri didn't quite understand me, and reminds me of people saying, yeah, my dog plays chess, but his endgame is very weak. I mean, it's pretty amazing that people are having conversations with their phone, and it's only going to get better. And these technologies, 20, 30 years from now, will profoundly change who we are. They already make us smarter. I mean, Wikipedia went on strike yesterday. It was like a piece of my mind going on strike, because we have really outsourced our personal, historical, social memories to our machines and to the cloud, and that's going to get richer and more powerful every year.
You know, we use the technology to improve our lives, and obviously, as you've said many times, the 20th century was a great example of how technology can be used against mankind if not careful. But we talk about using these nanobots in your body, in your brain, to download information or to upload your memories or your musical compositions. How will that? Could somebody someday learn to play an instrument by just hitting download and having it go into their brain? Because drummers got a great chance then. I mean, this could change my life.
Our intelligence is already partly non-biological, because, I mean, I see just how I go about things, and constantly using resources in the cloud. We all do, and we've become dependent on that. So even though it's not inside our brains, I think that's actually a distinction without a difference. These computers ultimately will be small enough to go in our bodies and brains, but I think they're already part of who we are. And the non-biological part of our intelligence can be backed up. It can be copied. It can be, you can download new skills. You download new skills to your computers all the time, and that is part of who we are. So yes, they'll be inside us, and that non-biological part of our intelligence can download new capabilities.
Sounds pretty wild, but it'll be in our lifetime?
Well, it's happening right now. I mean, one exciting thing is that our health and medicine was not an information technology. It was just hit or miss. But now we actually can reprogram our biology, and that is the cutting edge. Those technologies are in an early stage now, but they'll be 1 million times more powerful within 2 decades, and we really will greatly expand our longevity. But that's not a new story either. Lifespan was 37 on average 200 years ago, which is not so long ago. But that's going to go into high gear, over the next 1 or 2 decades.
It'll affect everything, our lives, our businesses, of course, and I think just to be able to have that thought in mind as you go into your own future.
One comment on music is that, music is the only human expression common to every society we've ever discovered. All these different primitive societies, some have art, some have dance, they all have music. It's very universal. And music has always used the latest technologies, the latest means of basically communicating human emotion and philosophies through sound. And so we're going to continue to do that.
I believe everyone is musical, and I believe these advances will help everybody express that creativity.
We can see that already, yeah.